As we continue with the barf, put the stab in. It's on a nice angle like that. So I had to sand the fuselage to get it straight. And in doing so, as you can see, it's loose now. So I'm probably going to do is put a thin piece of balsa in there just to tighten that up. Now whether I'll put it on the stab itself, it's probably be the easiest thing to do, just to tighten it up, or put it on the fuse. We'll see. But I gotta pin it in place now, shim it so it's straight, and then measure it. I got the lines drawn where the covering needs to come off, so I just measured from tip to tip, center line, measured the width of the fuselage, and marked off where I'm going to have to remove it. But I'm going to make sure the alignment's good before I glue that bugger in there. Something else I decided to do, so I noticed this knife blade is way too sharp, especially on the tip. As soon as you touch anything metal, like for a guide, you lose the heat and it doesn't want to cut. So I just gave it a pass on the belt sander and I rounded off the nose, or the tip of the blade, and I took that razor sharp edge off the blade to see how that's going to work. And this way you're less likely to actually cut into the wood, and more likely, given a little more surface area that's hot, more likely to actually cut the plastic film instead. See how we're going to make out with this. I may think I'm putting the ruler on the wrong side, but I find when you put it on the outside of your line where you want the cut, if you happen to slip, you're really only going to hit the covering you're removing, and not the covering that's going to be seen. Yeah, the dull blade is working quite well on this warped stabilizer. And even with the dull blade, I wouldn't be pushing too hard on this thing. Another pass. The only reason why I'm farting around so much with this, because I've seen stabilizers fail on RC planes. And guys are blaming it on the soft wood and everything, but when you look at it, you could see where they removed the covering and cut into the sheeting, and that's exactly where it failed. So I like to learn from other people's mistakes as well as my own. Actually, other people's mistakes are cheaper to learn from than my own. There. You say it's a little bit of fidgeting, and it was doubled up here, and I had to go for it twice. No big deal. But there's no cuts into the wood.
That's the main thing.
So I ended up having to make filler shims for the stabilizer mount. What I do is get some thin balsa, and this stuff's not soft, it's actually pretty hard balsa, and pre-shaped it a bit to fit in there. I marked where the gaps were, and you see I already put the top one in, and then I get a head start on a taper. So I put a bit of a taper there, I'll put another one here, and that'll give me a little head start on sanding this thing to fit, and take up the gaps with balsa wood, hard balsa wood, instead of trying to fill the gaps with glue. I made this nice thin little sanding block. I gave it a coat of old CA I had, so that way I can peel that sandpaper off and keep using it. You fellows should put some tape there, I guess. Yeah. And I'm also using the start out hogging off what I know is excess, and I try to keep looking down at the wing. Let's see, potbelly's good for something, and keeping this thing straight as I can while I look down at the wing. Well, here we go again with the hinge slots. They went way out of their way to screw these ones up. That line here with the two, the blue and the brown and green, that's pretty much your center line. And here's the slot they cut here. You can probably see it. For the right above my fingernail for the hinge. This one here is bang on. This one here, thankfully, is just kind of sings right across that center line, doesn't it? And she goes right there. The horizontal stabilizer, not much better. Off center and crooked. The elevator joiner is also going to get replaced with 3/16 wire, just because this stuff 1/16, it'd probably be adequate, maybe, but I'll go with the piano wire. It's a lot more rigid. When you're hammering into your corners, you don't have to worry about this stuff flexing a little bit. Just to give you an idea how bad these hinge slots are. This one here, as you can see, is a doozy. This one's off center. Center one. And this one's off center by about 1/16 of an inch. That one is extra special. Yeah. Good thing those hinges are thick. I was able to straighten most of these out with the X-Acto saw. So I'm going to do a dry run here. This isn't glued in yet, but I figure out how I'm going to get this elevator on, these elevators on, because unless if I'll cut this off and slid it straight in, you're not going to assemble it with this on. They do have a notch here. I might knock off a piece of that just so this goes in easier. I won't have much choice, to be honest with you. guess it could be done like that. Because I kind of screwed myself putting this thing together. I guess the thing is, I want these damn things straight, so that's why I did it on the bench. So I think what I'm going to have to do is just knock that little piece off there. Maybe glue it back in later so that this can be glued on and then just eased in while I drop it down. So I get this lined up with the wing, and I measured from the flap hinge joint to the tip of the stab on both sides. So everything's lined up. I'm just going to give her a whack of thin here on the tight spots. That's where I know I got a nice tight fit with the wood. And that way this thing is not going to move, and I'll start wicking the medium in there. So it's in there, it's holding it already. What's as typical of CA, I guess. So before I go too hard on it, I measure it again. And 7/8. 15 and 7/8. Perfect. And just look down the wing, and oh yeah, she's perfect. Yep. So now I can. Now that it's tacked in place, I don't have to worry about bumping it when I finish her off here. That's what I'm going to do now. Yeah, that's working nice. I kind of hummed and hawed about doing it this way after. This is about my 4th Brodak ARF, or 5th. So this time I'll try it. And that's it. Let her dry. I did to make that work. I just nipped that out. So I got my hinges in. So what I'm doing now is I'm going through all these end slots, the factory ones with the medium CA. It's going in there pretty nice, just to kind of fix up and strengthen the wood where it was cut every which way but loose, apparently. Now for some real excitement. When I put the epoxy on these blades, make sure I get it in those little holes that are drilled in the blades. And I'm going to move along as fast as I can here. It's 30 minutes, but that's a setting time. You don't have that much time to work with this stuff. So, normally you're not in this much of a pinch for time because you're only doing 3 or 4 inches. But where I got to put the whole stab on in one piece, I only wipes so many times, and I'll flip this over with a fresh dose of booze. Because then you just looking good. Soak a fresh one here. So this is where you're going to be cleaning your hands quite a bit. And I'm not going to push them all home right away because I'm going to get them all started. And this is why you have to succeeded at getting this one together. Oh, there's one. There's always one. That piles up on you. Fold him right over so I don't make a mess. Check the bottom, it's not as bad. Oh, there's 2. This is why you check the bottom. That's it. Put her all home. Done. Beautiful. This one's going to be cleaned. Q-tips help too. You can find the cheap ones. Real cheap Q-tips are hard and thin. They're great for doing this stuff. That's it. We'll let her dry. While it's drying, I'll come back and I'll keep moving it, just in case there's some glue in there that's trying to stick to the hinge and that breaks it free. Yep. Well, get my elevator hinged up. That was fun. So next step will be hinging the fin and rudder. I'll fit it first. Or I'll probably just put the fin on and then hinge the rudder to it. It's going to be a nice looking airplane, despite all the issues.